Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your hosts Edward McQueen and April Garner.
Say we're live. We're live.
Yes, we are live.
We are live. And thanks to our audience for being patient with us. Good evening and welcome to our program this evening. This is one of the programs that we strive to have a lot. I mean, this is one of our favorite types of programs, just getting our people out of their neighborhoods and letting them showcase what they're doing, how they're doing it, and hopefully it rubs off on a lot of other more young people. So today, April, my understanding, and we should let. What do you think about this? We should let Markus introduce our guest. What do you think?
Well, it's my understanding that Markus is going to get into his news and then he's going to introduce his guest. So maybe we should just introduce Markus and bring him on so we can get into the show.
Well, Markus really doesn't need an introduction. Okay, he's gotten to that point.
How we doing, guys?
Yeah, fine, brother. What about you?
I'm doing fantastic. We're going to change up the format a little bit this week. I'm going to do my rundown before I introduce our special guest. So first off, we're going to do Conway congratulations as normal. We got two really big things, really important things, I believe, that get looked over a lot. So yesterday at the meeting, Solid Waste Director, Mr. Reggie Jenrette, reported to City Council that in just last month alone, the City of Conway Sanitation Department picked up over 5 million pounds of trash.
For Lower Conway.
Yeah, exactly. And see, a lot of people don't understand how much trash that is. That is trash from every aspect of Conway city limits you can think. That's businesses, residences, hotels, a plethora of different things and different venues. And those guys work really hard. I mean, people think they're just hopping off the truck, grabbing your trash can and rolling. But you got to think, these guys do that 5 days a week, all day long, no matter what the weather is, no matter what conditions, and no matter how bad we throw trash in the trash can. Because I know all of us are guilty in some aspect of throwing some stuff in the trash, and it just, you don't want to ever deal with it again.
Right. Sometimes you miss the trash can.
Right, yeah, it's not my problem. Somebody else has to deal with it. So I really wanted to congratulate that department and all their hard work. And they put a lot of effort into keeping our town beautiful and making our lives easier and providing us a simple convenience that we take for granted at times.
Yeah, absolutely.
And secondly, they're no longer called the Public Works Department, so we want to congratulate the Beautification Department. That is the new name that they were given, the Beautification Department. That's what they call Public Works now. Because what they do is truly make our area more beautiful. There is a new Conway sign in the city limits that says "Welcome to Conway." It's right in front of Conway High School. They put it together. It's a brick and mortar sign, and they just finished painting it today, and it looks absolutely amazing. So if you are ever on that side of town in the coming days, please go by and see it. It's beautiful, handmade by locals, people who volunteer, people who are paid on staff just to help put forth effort to make Conway more beautiful. That's something that we take for granted, how much work into keeping our city a beautiful place that it is. So now we're going to move along to the happenings of the meeting.
That's the city council meeting we're talking about.
City council meeting took place on yesterday in City Hall, up top in council chambers. There was a lot of people in attendance yesterday, and there was a lot of good information that was spread. Also, a couple things that were brought to the attention of people who take things for granted. So on yesterday at the meeting, during the public input section, which, like I said, is a very important part of every meeting, it's a time period that all city locals can come in and express their grievances, any concerns or potential things that they could see take place in Conway to make it more beautiful and more inhabitable and more convenient for all the people in the area that come to live there or come to even visit just on vacation, And so a lot of people, I really want to express that, that's one of my biggest causes that I talk about every single time I'm on the broadcast.
Right.
That it's open to anybody. If you can't make it, you can call in ahead of time. Just call in by noon on the day of the meeting and they'll express it. So a lady came in yesterday. Her and her husband live in the North Conway section of town, which is considered Homewood by a lot of people. And she wanted to express about bike lanes. She came in yesterday and told everyone at the meeting that she's a professor at Coastal Carolina University, and she bikes all the way from the Homewood area of town, all the way to Coastal Carolina University every single day. Yes, every single day. And everybody was just enamored by the fact that her and her husband ride bicycles that far. No matter the day. But when you think about it, if you go to a lot of more developed and I guess you'd consider them metropolitan areas, there is a lot of bike traffic. There's bike lanes on the highway. As a form of public transit, that is definitely, looking at gas prices, more cost efficient.
Absolutely today.
Right. And mind you, now I'm not saying I will hop on a bicycle. That's a long way. But I know a lot of people would enjoy that, even as a form of exercise, to be able to bike more comfortably. And she expressed how the area you can bike is only on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Once you leave it in sidewalks, are normally meant for walking right. Patrons. Yeah,
they have to correct that. At some point, they're going to have to make that adjustment. The cities are going to do that, or the county, or whatever.
Right, and see, that was her thing. She wanted to express the fact that if you want an area like ours to develop and to be more inviting, you have to have more things that can, I guess, pertain to different lifestyles. See, somebody who lives in a larger area might be used to commuting by bicycle. They don't own a car. And she also expressed the fact that kids who go to Coastal Carolina University, if they don't have a vehicle, there is no way for them to get from Coastal to the city of Conway. So when they have all their events take place on Friday night, like Grooving on the Green, all that different stuff, when they had the Gullah Geechee Day, when they have the Juneteenth celebration coming up, things like that, there's some kids who don't go home at the end of the school year. Some of them have leases in apartments that are 12-month leases. So these people are having to miss out on things taking place in the actual, beautiful downtown area of Conway, and they can't get here. And she really brought that to the attention of city council and myself. I never thought about it myself, because I've been blessed to have the convenience to get back and forth by vehicle. And you think about it, you say, well, that's a lot of potential commerce, because a lot of people I know that graduated this year are moving away. They're not staying around here because they, a lot of things that aren't appealing to them, a lot of things that don't really bring them in. They haven't found something that captures them into our beautiful area we live in. So that was something she brought up, and a very valid point, and something that was taken to heart by a lot of people at the city council meeting. Also on yesterday, Horry County Councilman Orton Bellamy from the District 7 area, I think I'm correct on that one. He came in to let everyone know that starting on next week, the Waccamaw Snag and Drag project is going to start taking place. For anybody who isn't familiar with that project, that is $700,000 worth of money that was allocated to Horry County and to the city of Conway to come through and clean up all of the area around the river that was destroyed in the last storm and flood. So all they're going to be doing is coming through, removing debris from trees, abandoned boats, things like that also make our area look a little run down. Like when you come over the 501 Business Bridge, right, you see a lot of stuff sitting out in the river. People say, oh, that doesn't look very appealing. I don't think we want to go down there. Things like that help beautify the area, and that's something that, a lot of people have taken for granted. But it's something that somebody will know when they come into town that's not from here. And so we really want to make sure that people understand that was happening. Also, another big thing we'll talk about, Gun Violence Awareness Day in the city of Conway. Yesterday, the mayor, Barbara Bellamy, made sure to let people know that on June 3rd, it will be Gun Violence Awareness Day in the city of Conway. For anybody who isn't aware of the National Gun Violence Awareness Day, it was a day that was instated about 10 years ago and takes place all across the United States. On June 3rd, everyone wears orange in support of stopping gun violence, victims of gun violence, and families who have lost people to gun violence. Here's some statistics on gun violence for our area. Did you know that in the United States as a whole, South Carolina is 10th for the most casualties due to gun violence?
10th
in the nation. So that's 10 out of 50. That means we're in the top 20% for gun violence in the entire country. And you look at the news, there's a shooting here, shooting there. Most recently, you have the shooting that took place in New York. And you see all this gun violence, and you want to know when an end is going to come. But people don't understand that their silence is just people being silent about issues like this is just as bad as agreeing with it or saying you support it, because that silence is support.
Right.
The silence is support for the negative cause, and we have to make sure that we stand up against things like this that we can change.
Absolutely.
We can talk to our legislators and to our different policy makers. That's what they're in office for, is to help us, help our communities, so we can grow and enjoy the different aspects of life that people take for granted on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
We don't have to wait. We don't want to wait until we're at a point to places like Chicago and a lot of other big cities where hearing gunshots is normal. I remember growing up, hearing a gunshot, everybody would stop what they're doing just to figure out where it came from. And now you hear sirens and gunshots, and it's a normal day occurrence. And that's not something we should be getting used to. See, that should be part of our daily routines. So don't forget, June 3rd is going to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the city of Conway, and to wear orange in support.
To wear orange?
Wear orange. Orange is the color. Orange is the color of choice.
That's Ruben. That's
Brother Edward.
all right.
Oh,
I think it's a nice color, though, symbolizing what should not be.
Right. The reason they picked orange is because it symbolizes hope and unity.
Right.
That was the purpose of them choosing orange, not because of jumpsuits.
Right.
School me, man.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Let me keep on going. See, he done
Please. Please.
Off topic. We got some.
I don't know what we're going to do with the Marcus. I have no idea what we're going to do.
I don't either. But we have some business news. Let's jump into that. We got some business news.
All right.
So yesterday, the city of Conway had the first reading of a policy they want to pass to shorten the review period on building hotels and other short-term rentals. And so I talked about this two broadcasts ago. They're having all kind of different incentives to bring in hotels and other short-term rentals for people to come and visit. So when they come to Conway for all these nice things we're having, like the Gullah Geechee Day and different events at the sports and fitness centers, all of our different cultural events that take place on weekends, things like that, they want people to be able to stay in Conway so they don't have to worry about going to the beach, getting a hotel at the beach, eating at the beach. They can come here and enjoy what we have to offer. And see, their biggest pull was the fact that every time we schedule something, we're scheduling it on weekends, and people can get rates at hotels on the beach, and then they have to come back here. So they miss out on things that we have on Friday nights. They push back this, oh, well, I can come in, or they'll say, I can come in on Saturday morning, and then I can leave once my event's done. So they want to have that, and they were looking at the chart yesterday to see what brands would be more suited for our area. And we are in a very high percentile for the top tier of hotels. So we're talking your Hiltons, your really nice stuff, things that, hotels that aren't going to be just, I hate to say it, but roach motels. We qualify in the top tier due to our lack of crime, our levels of tourism that take place, all of our tourism events. So we're really excited about that. We're ready to see that take place. Also, another thing I talked about on last week's broadcast, and I think it's so funny. The campaign signs. Yesterday, they said that only on Monday, they picked up over 400 illegally placed campaign signs. Now, mind you, like I said, the tickets on the signs are $1,100 a piece. So if they picked up over 400 campaign signs, that's $440,000 worth of fines going out to the candidates for these elections.
Wow.
$440,000. And it's not that the signs are, they're trying to pull signs in favors of different candidates and things of that nature. They're pulling the signs because they're illegally placed on either city property, at a driveway of a city building, or they're put in on a curb to the point where if traffic's coming and somebody wants to see a sign, they have to stop and slow down to potentially cause an accident.
Right, absolutely.
And so they wanted to put the word out there that if you know candidates or you are a candidate, please do not place the signs and city limits in places that they are not allowed. Because when you want to put a sign out, you have to make sure that you go through the proper channels through the city to make sure that those signs are placed properly. And they said, if somebody has placed a sign on your property that you did not give liberty to, make sure to call the city of Conway. They will come and pick it up and issue the ticket appropriately. Because a lot of people have been complaining about different candidate signs being put in their yard without their permission. So they said, make sure to call them. They'll come pick it up and they will issue the ticket whenever they send it back to the candidate, or the candidate comes to pick it up. And then one last big piece of news. I think this is pretty interesting. Anybody who's familiar with the corridor of 378 and 16th Avenue, that one, they are planning on trying to realign those streets so that if you have to make a turn onto either two streets, either Rue Street, and I can't think the name of the other street right across from that, but
Brown Street, yeah.
Yeah, Brown Street, thank you.
Yeah.
They're planning on realigning those streets to where you don't have to worry about jutting into traffic to jut right back across two more lanes, having to cross 4 lanes radically. They're planning to realign those streets within the next 3 years. And they've had this plan waiting for a long time, but they finally have the opportunity to do it now due to the fact of the relocation of Woodward Park Middle School. For anybody who's not familiar with that, Woodward Park Middle School is being moved and renovated because it is one of the oldest middle schools in the school district. And it's also at capacity, and to the point that on the blacklist I spoke about last week. They are going to rebuild that school and move it. And due to the fact that the school will be gone, they now have the perfect opportunity to realign those streets and make it to where traffic will flow more easily coming through that corridor. They're also potentially thinking of other traffic relief options to make it easy, like adding a center lane to turn into, adding a median to turn into, so that people don't have to worry about shooting all the way across 4 lanes of traffic when they leave 16th Avenue to get onto 378. Because they said that one section in the city limits of Conway is in the top 5 list for most accidents. And as somebody who frequents that area, I can attest it's nothing to have 3 to 4 wrecks a week at the top of 16th Avenue where it meets 378. Because people are coming through at a very high rate of speed on 378. A lot of people come through there and disregard the speed limit signs. And they'll come through there going 50 mile an hour. Plus, it's a blind corner when you're taking a left. So it makes it really difficult for people to see when they're turning onto 378. So they're making sure to try and alleviate traffic, make it safer. And I really wanted to commend the city council on the matter that they're trying to make everything easier here in the city of Conway and make things more suitable for anybody who lives here and frequents and visits our area to try and bring more people in. That's all the council updates. Now we're going to run through our calendar for the week. Now, it's the same things that were on last weekend. On Friday night, they're having the last Grooving on the Green concert series for the month of May. The concert series will take place at 200 Laurel Street on the town green. The show will start at 7:30 and end at 9 p.m. with a classic car show starting at 5 p.m. beforehand. Mind you, all events taking place that I've mentioned are free to the public. Anybody can go out. Anybody can go out there, go out and enjoy it. Have a good evening with the family. Go get something to eat. They said last weekend they had over 2,500 people. So that's great to hear that people are coming and enjoying the city of Conway and enjoying all things they have to offer. And then on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. all the way until 1 p.m. at the right underneath the Main Street Bridge in front of Peanut Warehouse and Bonfire Restaurant, they're having the farmers market again. I talked to a couple people who went to the farmers market on last weekend. They said they had a great time. They said a lot of people are, selling fresh vegetables, fresh fruits. You have different craft makers there, people making blankets and baskets, things to hang on your front porch. You have flowers. They said there's a lot of things out there that really nice. A lot of people, really nice people. There's local apiaries coming out, bringing local honey. And for anybody like me that suffers from allergies, you know that local honey is the best thing for your allergies.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah. 1 tablespoon a night of local honey in the area that you live in, even, whether you live in North Carolina, South Carolina, wherever. If you can find something within 100 miles, because that's the same pollen that's going in your system.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See, I didn't know this myself until about 2-3 years ago.
And how'd you learn that?
My mom.
Okay.
You know, it's one of them grandma remedies. You know,
Well, you can't beat the old school grandma remedies. You really can't.
You know, you can't beat them.
And
I mean,
yeah.
Never heard of that one.
I started doing
I've never heard of that one either, but it makes sense because you're basically building an immunity, building up your immunity to it, and that makes sense.
Yeah.
Same pollen that we're taking in is what's going into that honey, and it's amazing. It works too. It works really well. I started doing it a couple of years ago, and I mean it helps me, leaps and bounds. But
we learned something new today.
Oh man,
I'm something every day.
Hey, this is free.
That's it.
It is. Free. It's what we call around here free 99.
There it is. That's what I'm talking about.
We call it free 99. All of this great information, and Markus is having a ball when he's giving the information. And I tell you, anytime you can learn something new that's going to help you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, Bonnie Edie says, thank you, because my allergies is driving me crazy. Bonnie, make sure you're not allergic to honey or anything like that. Now, consult your
Consult your physician. I am not a doctor. I have zero liability in that field.
Yeah, but what's interesting though that you brought that up. There's so much that's going on in the world right now, like you said earlier, and one of the things that's happening, of course, is this milk shortage, the baby milk, the baby formula shortage of Similac and Enfamil and all that. And there's some controversy around the idea of going back to the old school ways of feeding your children. Some women, of course, cannot breastfeed because that would be, as you would think, maybe the natural option if you can't get the Enfamil or the Similac. But some women can't. But back in the day, there was no Similac, there was no Enfamil. The grandmas and great grandmas, they used, to my understanding, some carnation milk and Karo syrup and a few other things, Brother Edward, that I've been reading about. And there are people who are like, we're going to try this because we can't find any milk. But there are others, including physicians, who are saying, don't feed that to the babies. Don't do that. But I think that, when we run into issues like this, it really should be an eye-opener that we have to find things that would be considered less conventional for us, because just like what's happening with the milk, and my understanding is that the milk basically was tainted, and that's why there's a problem with it. What if there's a producer or no producers of milk, so there's a producer that can't restart the milk production? Bonnie Edie, she says it was powdered milk, and again, I try not to get into online debates about this kind of thing, but my thing is this: if we consumed it, what's the problem? But things have changed. A lot of things have changed. I get it, but I think that people really need to think about how they can, create some options for themselves. They probably have to do the research. They probably have to speak with their physicians, because I'm sure babies may have some allergies as well, but I think this is a lesson in self-sufficiency and survival, just in case cannot get our hands on this man-made stuff. So this is very interesting. I just want to make that point about what you're saying, in regards to the honey and the pollination of it, and that makes sense. But you're going to have some physicians out there who will say, don't do it. It's not, and especially when it comes down to little children or whatever, don't feed them honey and, things like that. So you have to do your research, ask a lot of questions, but at the same time, talk to your grandmas and your great grandmas and see if there's something that they can come up with, I guess.
Nature has this way of making you come back to it.
That's
You know what? That's very profound, Brother Edward. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It really does. It really does. And people, people I think are trying to find more holistic ways of treating illnesses, and also just returning to clean eating and a lot of other things that, I read something the other day about going out into your yard, if you're not using fertilizers, to pick the dandelions to make the dandelion tea for various reasons, So you just have to do your research and talk to some people who understand natural medicines or natural remedies to see. what the deal is. Bonnie's giving us a lot of information here, some comments. She said, dilute carnation with water, just a taste for baby to think that they're getting real milk. Is that true, Bonnie? Or are you just saying stuff just to be saying it? Bonnie probably knows a lot of old home remedies, I'm sure.
Well, she's got 9, what do you call them, emojis?
I don't know if she's laughing or what, but you know what? We will do what we have to do by any means necessary. Oh, yeah. And I think that I really think that people need to take this as a sign or an alert that we have to find some other methods of getting what we need, especially when it comes down to consuming foods and different things that we need.
Right. And I think about it, my mom told me about growing up, they drank pine top tea and, with the pine needles and they said if you had a bad cut or something like that, you put spiderweb on it.
Now, that's true. That spiderweb piece is true. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah. I tried it myself. You think about all that stuff back then that they did, and none of them really got hurt doing those kind of things. That stuff worked. Of course, some of it was just no wives' tale, but for the majority, a lot of that stuff worked. I mean, even when I grew up, my mom had us take cod liver oil every night. Mm-hmm. But it helped because it helped my lungs. I mean, because I had a lot of bad allergy problems and respiratory problems growing up, and that stuff helped my lungs. And I mean, I didn't get sick as much as when all the viruses and stuff went around. I didn't catch them. Mm-hmm. You think about it. That nasty fish oil and the black drought and all that nasty stuff.
Marcus, you are too young to know about that kind of stuff.
I told y'all, my mama in old school, they tell me this stuff. And that stuff like that, they came out fine. But a lot of thing about it was everything back then was fairly natural. And a lot of stuff now that they did is a lot more processed. So you have to be more cautious, like you said. Mm-hmm. But a lot of those home remedies still do work.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Said, talk to your grandmamas and your great aunts and all them. Get you some information.
When I was in engineering school, they said that, one of my physics course, my advanced physics course was that, they said that one of the best physicists is your mom. Yeah. Because even when she's cooking, she can contain pressure. She can know what when the pressure is during the pot and all that kind of stuff. She can regulate that. And guess what? It's on a wood stove.
On a wood stove.
Wood stove. Okay. Not even gas stove. You didn't have to regulate the gas. Mm-hmm. Just the pressure that she knew, the right amount of pressure for which to have a great outcome of food on the pot.
Right.
Listen, mamas are great physicists. They're great chemists. How many mamas do you know cook and they don't measure anything? They know exactly what they need. My mom never used measuring cups. That's why to this day, when it comes down to her recipes, I have a hard time.
You can't get up.
Copying the recipe. Yeah, and I remember speaking with her one time. She was trying to bake a cake. And I said, well, how much of X did you put in there? Just enough. You know. Well, how will I know? She knew. And there was no way she could really explain it to me because just enough was whatever hand could tell her.
Yeah, just was
a couple of enough. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, or
and a shake of a bag or two. Count 2 shakes of a bag.
2 shakes in a bag. A drop or two of a liquid, that kind of thing. So yeah, great. They're chemists, they're physicists.
You only knew April, but you finally knew when she allowed you to lick the bowl, right? Or get the bowl
right.
with your face.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. That was it.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. So Marcus, this has all been some great information as usual.
Oh, as usual, man.
We certainly appreciate you attending the council meetings and gathering this council information and just keeping up with all of the developments. There was one thing you mentioned earlier, when you were talking about the people who were biking from Homewood to Coastal. I believe that's what you said.
Yes, ma'am.
So what is the outcome of the discussion? What are they talking about? Or is it that they want a bike trail of some sort, or what do they want?
Yeah. Well, the mayor said herself that one of the biggest things they want to institute is, by the way, matter of fact, let me cut myself off. Ms. Winifred knows. She's a nurse.
She's a nurse. Yes. Thank you for watching tonight, Ms. Winifred. Yes.
Yeah, she's a nurse. Trust that one. Trust that right there.
There you go. Yeah.
But the main thing the mayor said, especially with, I know if you've been around town anywhere recently in the area, probably of Main Street all the way out to the Speedway gas station in the North Homewood section of town, they're putting in sidewalks, putting in walking sidewalks now, making them very wide, enough room for 3 people to even get by at the same time. So the biggest thing is they want to improve it and make it more accessible to all areas of town. Because even I remember growing up, when you went to a Christmas parade right there in the corridor of 16th Avenue and Main Street, you had to stand in the road. You were standing in the road or standing on the grass or at the edge of somebody's parking lot. There wasn't really sidewalks. So they're adding the sidewalks. She said one of the next phases they want to do is public transit. They want to be able to have either a bike lane on the highway or to make the sidewalk, to put a slope on the sidewalk so that people with motorized scooters and bicycles, skateboard, things of that nature could get in that. Because if you think about it now, if you get behind somebody on a motorized scooter, they can't go, more than 35, 40 miles an hour.
Yeah, something like that.
Right, regarding the exception of a few that can go at regular vehicle speed. So if you're behind one of those, it's going to hold you up and potentially double your transit time wherever you're going. So they want to make it to where, and plus you have to worry about them getting hit. You're always cautious every time you pass somebody that's on a motorized vehicle. You're cautious of the fact, I hope they don't get hit. After you pass, you say, Lord, I pray they don't get hit. So now they want to make it to where it's more easily accessible for everybody to get into town, do what they have to do, go shopping or come visit that downtown area and be able to do it safely. People can get there on bicycle from somewhere else in town, or they could bike through downtown as a form of exercise, something like that. But it's still more dangerous. It's still, really cautious. You have to be real aware when you do it. And to think that woman does that, she works. She has a full-time job.
They have to do what they have to do.
Yeah.
Right. She has to go every day, almost every day, about 4 to 5 months out of the year. So there's got to be others.
Yeah. We might begin to see a bit more of that now, because I saw the gas today was $4.59 a gallon.
For premium or for unleaded?
Just regular.
Yes. You
said $4.59?
It's just regular.
In certain areas, areas around here, it's that high.
Right.
Yeah, it's in most vehicles that were made within the last 7 to 8 years don't run anything less than the Plus.
Yeah, that's right, Plus.
Most vehicles made within the last 8 years run Plus, so that's automatically going to be your. I know today I got gas; it was like $4.50 a gallon, $4.59 a gallon for Plus.
Well, listen, you know what's sad about that? What's really sad about that is that minimum wage is still $7.25.
Yeah,
and $2.13 for servers.
For what?
Servers.
Any server, waitress, waiter. Yeah, anybody in food service. Their minimum wage is $2.13.
Yeah,
and they haven't gotten a raise in that. And
everything's been relevant. Everything is going up. Okay, I mean, just I don't know.
So we're gonna all be on bikes, using, as they used to say, Pat and Charlie. If if something doesn't happen soon to give us some relief.
Cost of living is rising, but wages are
Stop burning your air conditioners. 455. Four windows down at 55 miles an hour.
Yes, sir.
Get the air and conserve your gas. And if that doesn't work, Pat and Charlie.
Pat and Charlie.
Pat and Charlie. Your feet.
Pat
and Charlie.
Pat and Charlie. I heard that one.
Walk.
Walk.
My goodness. What a time to be alive.
You ain't lying.
Fantastic, Markus, man. We really appreciate what you brought to us, and we know you're going to be bringing us a bit more in the future, near future,
for sure.
And so, can we go to a commercial break?
Yeah, we're getting ready to go to a little break, Brother Edward, and we're going to see some.
Yeah, when we come back, April, what do you think?
We have a special guest, and Markus is going to introduce the special guest. So we're going to go to a commercial break and show some sponsors and some community announcements, and then we'll come back. And Markus will let us know who's joining us tonight. Youth in Action. I'll just say that. Youth in action, okay?
Absolutely. These are our favorite parts here.
Exactly. So
Future.
yeah, that's right. We'll be right back. Brother Edward, I tell you, there's a lot going on in the community.
Oh man,
See all those great sponsors and all the community news is happening. We've got a lot going on, and
more than what people think.
A lot more.
It is a lot more than what people think. Okay?
Exactly. A lot more than what people think.
But guess what we got going on right now? Just about to start, Miss Medea. Good evening to you, Miss Pereira.
Pereira, yes, it's okay. It is definitely a hard name to pronounce. I normally give people a few tries before we have to like, okay, did it stick yet? It's okay. My last name is pretty complicated. But good evening. How are you?
We're gonna let Markus fill us in on what you're about and introduce you.
Yeah, well, see, I've been trying to get people on the show, young people on the show especially, to show that there are a lot of very community-oriented and very socially active young people in our area. And Dea is one of them. I mean, we can start. If I ran down the list of accolades, we'd be here all night long. But I'll just highlight a few. She is a 2022 graduate of Coastal Carolina University. She majored in elementary education. She is a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Let's see. She was Miss Curve 2021 for Coastal Carolina University. She received a Student in Action Award through Coastal Carolina University last year before she graduated. She is also the dance and flag coach, the drill team coach at Conway High School for the Conway High School bands. If anybody's ever seen them at a game and seen how well they perform, she is the head coach of that operation. Any other big ones I missed? I know there's a bunch of other ones, but I tried to hit the biggest ones.
There are a few more. Like, I don't really like giving myself as much props as everyone is putting out into the world, but I do
we appreciate your modesty.
Thanks. I really try. I'm a very humble person. Like, one thing about me is when the ups come, I know that's when it's my time to pray. So it's my time to be humble and to just be appreciative of the gifts that God has given to me. So whenever someone is like, what all do you do? It's like, oh, okay, well, give me a second. Let me think about it. Because I like to give, I like to do without thought, without wanting something in return. Yeah. So I have it's a community service project right now that I started back in high school that we're trying to make into a nonprofit organization soon. It's called Step by Step, where we collect kind of like essential items such as socks, hats, scarves, gloves, feminine products, and hygiene products for the homeless shelters in Horry County, mainly on the beach. And as of right now, the big one that I committed to this year was hoping to stop the ban of critical race theory when it comes to public schools K-12.
Now, Dave, for anybody who doesn't understand what critical race theory is, please explain it to them real quick. Give them a little background on it.
I got you. That's one of my favorite things to do. So critical race theory is basically the study in, like, I would want to say proven how racism is built in systematically, right? So from the time of us as a Black community getting rights and getting better treatment, it wasn't really better treatment. The goal for studying critical race theory, which is mainly studied in in colleges, such as in like sociology classes or social awareness classes, is basically to kind of reverse this, so stop the systematic racism, to bring light to it so that we don't do it again. It's not even really taught in public schools as much as it's being emphasized as it is taught in public schools. And it's more of what people are scared of or what people fear to be race turning on race, which is really not the case. It's just mentioning, we say, educators say this all the time, we teach history so that history does not repeat itself. It's basically history being taught so that history does not repeat itself. not in a slanderous way, just in a truthful way.
Right. And see, a lot of people, there's a fact I learned a long time ago when I first decided I wanted to be an educator. And I know Dad knows this fact well because she is an elementary school educator.
Yes.
The biggest thing that really scares me about systemic racism is the fact of how jails are created. They base the population in jails based upon how many young African American males there are in second grade in the United States.
Yes.
That's how they project capacities for jails.
Mhm.
How many second graders? Mind you, second grade children are ages 7 and 8. These are kids who are finally learning how to, understand basic math. That's when they decide how to build a jail.
I'm actually going to correct you because it's 6 and 7.
Thank you. Yeah, 6 and thank you. Yeah,
Second grade is 6
yeah.
and 7.
Yeah. And that's sad. That's sad. These are young children who haven't even committed anything, who haven't done anything. These kids can't even drive. And that's how we base how to build jails and how much space to have in a jail. And people don't understand most jails are private entities, and they are going to try and funnel young people into those.
They're businesses.
Yeah, exactly. That's scary.
It is.
But
only.
Go ahead, David. Take it away. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's okay. Only 8% about around 8% of history taught in school is African American history. So, for me, where what I want to do comes in at is not only empowering students that look like me and that look like you all, like Markus, Black students of color, to empower them and let them know that they can do anything they put their mind to. But it's also to kind of let that be known. Like, if someone is in school, if a child is in school, a little Black girl is in school and she's not learning much about herself, what makes her important, having that go through your mind, especially being raised in the South, it can be hard. It can be hard to love yourself when you're not even learning about yourself. So that's one of my main goals, is to push that aspect from a different point of view.
Now, Daya, go ahead, Ms. April. I'm sorry.
I was gonna, Daya, there's so much, conversation around critical race theory, and I'm sure that there's a lot that people really don't understand about it. For certain people in America, they hear terms, and depending on how those terms are actually based in certain contexts, they misuse the information, or they misunderstand the information, and that's what makes it really hard to actually even make any headway when it comes down to fighting for or against a particular thing, because you start to deal with mindsets and you start to deal with behaviors that are associated with just misunderstanding things and not really knowing the impact of things. So as you think about what you're trying to accomplish when it comes down to, sharing this knowledge, but also taking a stand based on what you believe, where do you think the fight, or where do you think, I guess, the conversation really needs to take place in order to see a change or a difference when it comes down to school curriculums and what's happening in education right now? Who is responsible for making that change?
I feel personally like I'm not exactly too sure how I would say who was directly in charge, but I think it would go in order of like command. As of right now, the closest thing to us is our school district. So starting at the school district, starting to let them know, like, this is a very touchy subject. Like you said, it's getting into personalities, it's getting into point of views, it's getting into
Beliefs.
how people feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, beliefs. So as a teacher, for me, coming into this, being as bold and outspoken as I am, I could risk losing my license, my teaching license, for how I made another student feel if this bill was to get passed. Just by teaching, doing what I'm supposed to be doing, So I'm really encouraging people to go to the school council meetings and to go and talk to the district office and let them know there's like where their problem comes in at. A lot of it is just going to have to deal with how I'm trying to attack it and how I want the world to see how to attack it is through putting them in your shoes. So I have nieces. I have nieces that are growing up right now in Horry County School District. And when they're younger, whenever my youngest niece reaches school, what answer am I going to give to her if she comes home and says, why don't I learn about myself? Like, why don't I learn about where we came from, or where did we come from, or how did we get here? Like, I remember having those conversations with my mom when I was young, or getting the preparation for what you might learn and how to take it, and how everyone is not going to be your friend. And you can't, like, you have to make sure you filter in what you need to filter in and filter out what doesn't belong, as in like tearing you down as a person or making you feel less than when things like this are being taught, because in all honesty, they're not really being taught. So it's definitely touching.
And to piggyback on that point, you think about it, when in 8th grade, and based upon the way curriculum is worked, 8th grade is when you learn about South Carolina history.
Yes.
But see, the parts of South Carolina history they teach you are the 150-year-old pieces of South Carolina history. They teach you about the antebellum period, the period that takes place around the beginning and the end, and the Reconstruction era after the Civil War. Mm-hmm. But we have plenty of South Carolina news that pertains to a community like ours. In South Carolina history that pertains to areas like ours. We have people like Miss Vanessa Weiss. That's somebody who is from here, from South Carolina, born and raised, who went on a national level and completed things that were, never once before imaginable of people of our color and of our race. People who look like us, to give motivation to boys and girls of color from our area that you can do it just the same as her. She went through the same school district as you. She went and she walked some of the same buildings you walked through. She frequented some of the same restaurants. Things like that can really improve a child's understanding and learning, because it's something that pertains to them from somebody who is just like them.
So Markus, let's just clear up a little bit for our audience. Miss Vanessa White, you want to explain who she is?
Yeah, I can give a little bit of background. I know somebody else might be able to fill in and give better. But for anybody who doesn't know, she went to NASA. She got a job at NASA and is one of the leading chemistry engineers, one of the two for NASA. That's huge. Right. There was a movie a couple years back about 4 Black women who did the same thing, who were all in the engineer corps of NASA. And she's somebody who's from here who did it. Right. Somebody who, if you don't know her, I guarantee you some of your aunts or cousins or your grandmother, somebody that knows her and knows what, and her family was known for doing things like that. The Ellerbys.
The Ellerbys. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're very big in the community. People who make a big difference on not only a local level, but a national and international level. Right. That's stuff that kids should be getting taught. People who look like them from here making an impact.
Mm-hmm. My understanding is that I don't know if it occurred or not, but she was scheduled to be the commencement speaker at the Coastal Carolina University this past weekend, I believe.
It was amazing. It was incredible.
She was phenomenal. Yeah, she's a great speaker. She's also going to be getting an award at the Conway High School Educational Foundation banquet this year, also in September. And also, while she was in town, she received an award from the governor himself on the State House grounds. She received the Pride of the Palmetto Award, which is the highest honor that can be awarded to a citizen of South Carolina by the governor himself on the Capitol steps.
Man, I'm glad all this information is being spit out like this. It's really encouraging, and especially for more young people to know. You mentioned CRT in classes. Look. We'll have our own CRT. If you don't want to teach it in high schools or in grade school, this is an opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay, it's an opportunity to start. In other words, just build your own. I mean, you don't have to just go and build a building, but maybe you might find a building that would teach just that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
And I don't want anybody to come knocking, talking about we're teaching the wrong thing. No.
Not at all. You can get this is public information. You can definitely do your own research on this. If you like, just type in critical race theory on Google, and you'll get a plethora of information that you can go through. And Miss McQueen, it is definitely okay. And of course, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to inform. And yes, Hidden Figures is the movie that you're referring to.
Yeah, that's it. Hidden Figures. That's the movie. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, but you think about it. If you look back in history, there was never a time as much as now to where we have the liberty of information.
Right.
We have the ability for everybody to receive the exact same education. You know, everybody now has the same abilities, and we all have the same levels, the same materials. It's up to us to encourage people to go after it and go get it. You know, you look back, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, my mom herself was in segregated schools. That's not that long ago. And we've made such far leaps and bounds now to the point where you have the freedom to express your grievances and for you to be heard. But you have to be persistent so that change is made. And change lies in our hands. It's up to us to push it.
Definitely.
Well, Dave, I'm sorry.
Just really quickly, I've always said that God placed me on this earth for a reason. And in order to figure that out, sometimes you gotta shake some things up. You gotta to scream and yell and put out there in the world what needs to be put out there in the world so that you can figure out exactly what you're supposed to do. So
absolutely,
that's my motto.
Mm-hmm.
We're always shaking things up.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So I know that you mentioned the step-by-step foundation that you're trying to turn into a nonprofit, and and what the premise of that foundation is all about. Is it the work that you're trying to do in relation to critical race theory? Is that going to be separate from the foundation and just a part of your a movement, or because I'm sure that you kind of have to make sure that you don't muddy the waters there. So how are you going to do all of this?
So it is definitely something different. It is step by step will be a way to build up the community with giving things back to the community. And that is completely with me and my family. So that is something that I hope to pass down to my nieces to do once they reach the level and they're comfortable for bringing it into their schools. That's a family thing that we kind of started and we want to continue into our families. However, this critical race theory situation, not saying that my family isn't for it because they 100% support it, but I am the loud and outspoken one in my house. I am definitely the one that will say what is on her mind to whoever comes into her presence. This is me. This is me doing what I feel is right, and it's me doing what I feel is necessary in order for people, children like me, children like us, to know that they're important and that they're loved and that there is a place for them here. So they're on two different levels, if that answers your question.
Okay. All right. Well, you already are involved in a number of things, and it sounds like you have the energy for it, the spirit for it, and the willingness, and that's what's important, because it's going to take all of that in order to impact communities and to move the needle and create change. So congratulations on all your endeavors, and the best of luck to you. And Markus, I'm sure that you have more people like Daya in your circle who are young people moving and shaking things. So
we need to see them. Yeah, we need to see them, man.
Yeah, there's as a matter of fact, in the past couple of weeks, there have been a couple of people who've reached out to me about some things that they're doing, and I think this is something that we can definitely continue, adding to the shows from time to time, just to let people know, because we were talking about legacies as a part of the Whittemore Alumni Association, and how pretty much all of us, I don't know about you, Daya, who are on the screen, are part of the Whittemore legacy. And in order for something to be sustainable, like an alumni association where there's a historical background and a foundation to it, you have to make sure you're including the people who are part of the legacy, and that's usually the younger generations, because after a while, if you don't, it will totally die off. And so, we have to make sure that people like yourself and Markus are constantly involved in a lot of the things that are happening around here to preserve the history, to change our conditions, and to just, make life better for the Black community and really people everywhere. I mean, there's no way you can, singularly change one community. If you are changing the minds of someone who doesn't look like us, who believes, otherwise, then you've done an amazing thing, because typically there are people who don't look like us who are fighting against the things that make our lives better. So, continue to do what you're doing. And, we definitely want to hear more from you in the future.
Absolutely.
Especially after you get step by step, chartered as a nonprofit. And we want to see the great things that you're doing.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Markus, for inviting me. I really do appreciate all of it.
Well, thank you, because you're definitely leaving an impression, a positive one at that. And I'm so thankful for that. Thankful for getting to meet you.
Absolutely. So, we want to thank all of our viewers tonight for joining in. And it's always great to see the comments and the questions and stuff. That keeps us going. But if you're interested in learning more about how to receive the monthly magazine or any or advertising in the magazine, go to wcmagazine.net. And when you go there, if you might be watching from there tonight, but if not, go to the website and you will see some of our advertisers. You'll also see the latest edition of the World Community Magazine, and you can find out more information about how you can advertise if you want. Typically what we feature on every broadcast will be our paid sponsors, but also the community announcements that you see are for events that are happening that are free to the public. So, I don't want anybody to say, oh, well, they advertised so-and-so, but they didn't advertise my stuff. Well, if you are doing something that's free to the public, that's beneficial for the public, and they don't have to pay a dime to attend, then, we don't have a problem promoting your event. But if you're trying to grow your business, it's just like with anything else. You have to be able to put some money into advertising. And I guarantee you we're the most affordable deal in town. And also we're targeting our community. And even though we have a diverse group of advertisers in the magazine, this is how you're going to get news and updates about things that are really impacting the Black community. So we thank everyone for their support, all of our sponsors. And for those of you who have community announcements that you'd like for us to promote or broadcast on our Tuesday night show, make sure you drop your information into the network on Facebook. Become a member of the network, or you can drop it on the World Community Magazine's page here on Facebook, and I will pull those flyers and we will show that information every week.
This has been interesting, guys. I'll tell you, it's really has been interesting. And Deya, I did pronounce it right. Deya,
yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir. You did.
It's fantastic. This is great. Okay. And of course, Brother Markus all the time. But Markus is going to bring some more of his fellow, I'll say use the word fellow, but some of his colleagues, I guess, and share things like you are sharing them, because the young people want to hear that. They want to see what how they can further their knowledge on things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and so Deya and Markus, both of you are class of 2022.
Yep.
Because Miss Chernell, thank you so much for tuning in. She was one of our loyal listeners from when we were on radio, Brother Edward.
Oh, really?
Yes. And she definitely just reminded us, congratulations to the both of you. And you both are going into education. That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful, because the students will be able to see themselves in you, our students. And that's extremely important. There's nothing more critical than that. So congratulations to both of you. And thank you, Chernell, for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Well, Brother Edward, that's it. Another great show.
Wow, it is. It is. And I hope we'll see everybody next week, same time. And Godspeed. We this was a great show. I'm leaving with the great impression on how the growth in our community, is taking place. And you certainly expel that today, Mr. Daya. And so, and of course, Markus. And Godspeed to our viewers. We'll see you next week, same time, 7 p.m. Any last words, April?
Nope, you said it.
Markus, any
It's all
last
for me.
words? So you? Okay. All right.
All right.
See
Everybody take care and God bless.
Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host Edward McQueen and April Garner.